Welcome to ROK the BLOK. This is your host, Jon Blok. So excited, special guest in the building. We have KARENE, photographer, new and doing some awesome projects in the NFT crypto space. KARENE, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we are so excited for you to be here. Now, you're doing photography in the NFT space. So first, what kind of project you're working on right now? What's going on? What are you up to?
Okay, so I started in NFTs maybe back in March. And it's an interesting question because I think when I started, the first question was, what do I mint? What do I put out there on the blockchain initially? And I had some work that I'd begun on something. And so I decided to start with that. And so, I put out one project, I put out another one. I'm working on another one that's not minted yet, that sort of has the same themes that I normally have, which are around familial bonds and love and family. And it's not ready yet. I'm kind of trying to figure out, how do I launch the first piece? But that's sort of where I am working on that third collection, if you'd like.
That sounds pretty exciting. So how did you first learn about NFTs and crypto?
Oh, that's an awesome question. So I'm part of a collective called Black Women Photographers. And one of the members decided to have a sort of conversation around crypto. Her name is Diana Sinclair. I'm sure you've heard of her. Wonderkin. I think she's 60. She was 16, 17. And so she had a talk and she said, there's something new and emerging going on in art. There's room for photography. And she said, there's not enough Black women in there. And she was basically, you need to be there. And I remember thinking at the time, well, that's nice for you, but I don't see how this has anything to do with me. It just felt so overwhelming and confusing. And so she basically had the conversation. She gave us the NFT Bible. I think she really believed that it was a space that Black women could occupy. And she insisted. And I think based on her enthusiasm for this space and willingness to onboard, that's what sort of convinced me to get into this space.
That's amazing. So how's it been for you so far as a photographer? So you said you started in March and, so how's it going?
It's not bad. I'd like to say that I've sold quite a few pieces. I'm not as prolific as others, I don't think. I've minted maybe all in all, maybe 10 pieces. And I think part of the reason for that is I really want to be intentional in what I make. And, I always think about, okay, this is going to be on the blockchain. It's going to be on there forever. How do you want to be perceived and what do you want to have on there? And so I think maybe if I had more work, I could say, I've sold that much more. But the fact that I've sort of sold everything that I've put out there, I'm content. And I would say that it's been very good for me.
I would consider that a success. If you've sold everything that you put out, that is definitely a success. Well, congratulations on that.
Lowkey Giant.
So, with this experience that you've had so far, any tips or suggestions that you would have for newcomers to the space?
Yeah. I hate the word community in a sense because it feels very generic and it can mean everything and mean nothing at the same time. But I do believe that to be successful, you need to be in certain rooms. You need to have relationships with people because it's a lot about marketing. I think the work honestly has to be good. I really believe that. But I think people need to know that you exist. People need to know what you're doing. There's that sense of, being part of something. And so being able to retweet other people's work is very important. So I would say find a community, whether it be the photography community. There are so many wonderful communities out there. I think I would say to a newcomer, find one that speaks to you, follow the people that speak to you. And the other part is really around the necessity of getting on Twitter Spaces of being in clubhouse rooms, maybe a little bit less now, but definitely being in the Twitter spaces. People need to know who you are, see you, hear you speak, get on stage and talk about your work and why you're passionate about the work that you do, and understand that it's work, right? And so, and I say that to say that, you have to take into account the amount of hours that you may be spending into those Twitter spaces and fold that into the work that you're pricing, right? Because it's work and it's energy that you're putting in there. And so you don't want to price yourself so low that, you spend, I don't know, a good 40, 50 hours in a space, and you go to, cash out or whatever the case may be, and realize that you've only made, I don't know, a couple, maybe $100. I don't know. I mean, obviously everybody's, economic need is different, but I think that those are the factors that need to go into the pricing. And so to be understanding of the way that you're pricing yourself as a newbie, when you get into the market, is also important.
That's a really good tip. That's a great tip. What are you most excited about for this technology in the emerging future of things to come? What are you most excited about?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think before the NFTs, I'd sold maybe 2 prints, right? I'd worked, obviously, I've done events, I've done portraits, but in terms of selling the work itself, I'd sold 2 or 3 prints. And so, to be in a space, have people look at the work and say, that speaks to me and I'm willing to pay for it, is enormously rewarding. And so I look forward to selling more, but definitely having other people kind of enjoy the work, right? And when I started, photography was not very big in this space. I think it was more of AI work. And so to see the evolution of places like quantum photography, Obscura DAO, Untitled DAO, all these spaces where, collectors and photographers are getting together is so encouraging, because that tells me that there's more room for more photographers to come in and have their work valued. It's wonderful.
That's awesome. Appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. How can folks get in contact with you or check out your work? What's the best way?
Well, they can check out my website. So I'm old. That's how you know I'm old. It's KareneIsabelle.format.com, and then definitely check out my Twitter. I think most of my NFTs, honestly, is on Twitter's, and it gives you links to my foundation account and my OpenSea account.
Okay, perfect. Well, once again, we have Karene, amazing photographer. We will definitely keep an eye out for your work and wish you much success in building community and showcasing what you do. Thank you, Karene.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
Lowkey Giant.